Every morning, just before the sun fully rose, I'd walk past the old brick bookstore at the corner of 7th and Main. That's where I first saw him. A young man, maybe in his early 20s, with worn-out sneakers, messy dark hair, and a guitar that had seen better days. He sat on a crate with his head low, strumming the same slow, soft melody. His name was Eli. Eli didn't smile much. His clothes were faded, and his fingers were often red from playing in the cold. But when he played, it was like the whole world slowed down. His tune was simple, almost like a lullaby. Yet there was something special in it, something that made you stop for just a moment. He never asked for money. He just played. Most people passed him by, without a glance. Some dropped a coin, some didn't even hear him. But I listened, every day, the same song. No words, just the sound of hope and heartache, wrapped in 6 strings. I once asked him why he played only that one tune. He looked up and said quietly, "It's the only one I know, but it's the one I wrote. For my mom." That's all he said. And then he went right back to playing. There was something deep behind those words, but I didn't press him. His music told the rest of the story. It became a routine. I'd grab my coffee, walk past the bookstore, and hear that tune. Rain or shine, winter or spring, Eli was always there. He never seemed to take a break. Even when his fingers looked cold and stiff, he still played. The city barely noticed him. He was just another street musician, in a world that moved too fast to care. But not me. I listened, and I wondered, how could someone this talented be so invisible? What I didn't know was that one simple morning would change everything, not just for Eli, but for everyone who ever passed him by. Would you stop for a stranger if their music touched your heart? Or would you keep walking, like everyone else? Eli's corner wasn't fancy. The bookstore was old and quiet. The wall behind him was covered in faded posters and peeling paint. Some days, the wind knocked over his little tip cup, and people stepped around it without a glance. Still, Eli played. It felt like the city had given up on this block, and maybe even on him. But Eli didn't give up. That corner was his stage. That old crate was his chair. That broken guitar was his voice. You could feel it. This place had seen better days, and so had Eli. But the music made you believe better days could come again. One rainy Thursday, I finally sat beside him. I didn't say much, just listened. After a few minutes, he paused and looked at the sky. "I used to play this song for my mom," he said. "She got sick a few years back, said my song helped her sleep when the pain got too much." I swallowed hard. "She passed before she heard it finished," he added. "So I come here every day, play it like she's still listening." His voice cracked at the end. I didn't know what to say. I just nodded and stayed a while longer. There was love in that song. You could feel it in every note. That same week, something unexpected happened. A black SUV stopped by the bookstore. Out stepped a tall man in a long coat, wearing dark glasses and carrying a coffee. He looked like he didn't belong on this street. He paused when he heard the music. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood still, eyes locked on Eli, like he was watching something rare. Then, he stepped closer. He bent down, placed a business card in Eli's cup, and said one thing, "Call me please." And then he walked away. Eli looked confused. I leaned in and picked up the card. "James Carson, music producer, Atlantic Sound." My heart skipped. I looked at Eli. He just blinked, like he didn't believe it was real. 3 days passed. After that man, James Carson, left his business card in Eli's tip cup. Eli didn't touch it at first. He just stared at it every now and then, like it might disappear if he blinked. I saw him sitting in his usual spot, guitar in his lap, the card tucked in his jacket pocket, like it was made of gold. I finally sat beside him and said, "You're gonna call, right?" He shrugged. "What if it's a joke? What if I call and he laughs?" I looked him straight in the eyes. "What if he doesn't?" That night, after the street was quiet and most folks had gone home, Eli pulled out an old flip phone. His fingers were trembling so bad, he dropped it twice before he could dial. I stood by the lamppost nearby, watching, just in case he needed someone. He pressed the call button. "Hello?" A deep voice answered. Hi, this is Eli. From the bookstore corner. You gave me your card." There was a pause. Then James Carson's voice lit up. "Eli, I've been hoping you'd call. You've got something rare. I've been looking for a sound like yours for years. Eli's voice cracked. It's just one song. That one song, James replied, might be all you need. That one phone call turned everything around. A week later, Eli was in a real recording studio, not just a small room with a mic, but one of those big glass-walled studios, where famous people made music that reached the whole world. Everything was new. The floors shined, the walls were covered in sound panels, and big speakers hung from every corner. Someone offered him a brand new guitar, sleek, shiny, polished like a mirror. But Eli shook his head. I'll use mine, he said, holding up the same scratched, beat-up guitar he always played. She loved this one, it's got her in it. No one argued. He sat on a stool, adjusted the mic, and closed his eyes. And then he played. The tune was the same one I had heard 100 times on the street. But somehow, it was even more beautiful. Maybe it was the silence in the studio. Maybe it was the way Eli poured everything into it. Or maybe it was just magic. When the song ended, no one said a word. Not right away. Even James, the tough-looking producer, had tears in his eyes. That's it, he whispered. That's the take. Eli didn't need to play it again. A few weeks later, the song hit the radio. No lyrics, just that melody. Gentle, soft, full of love and longing. People started talking. They called into the stations asking, who made that song? Who is that? Some said it reminded them of someone they lost. Others said it helped them sleep. Some even played it at weddings and funerals. Eli didn't blow up overnight. He didn't become a celebrity. But his name started to spread, slowly, steadily. Like the tune itself, honest and true. He got invited to small shows. People began to recognize him. Kids on the street asked for his autograph. But even after all that, he still visited the same bookstore corner every once in a while. He'd sit on his crate, pull out that old guitar, and play. Not for the crowds, not for the fame, just for her. Eli's story isn't about fame or fortune, it's about heart. He never chased attention. He never begged to be seen. He played because he had something inside him that needed to be heard, even if only by the wind and a few passing strangers. That tune he played every morning was more than just music. It was a promise, a memory, a gift to someone he loved, a quiet prayer that one day, maybe the world would listen. And finally it did. The world didn't make him better, it just finally noticed what was already there. Eli taught me something I'll never forget. Some people shine so brightly, we don't see it because we're too busy looking the other way. He didn't need a stage to prove his worth. He was always good enough. His song was always beautiful. We just had to slow down and listen. There are so many Elis out there. People with quiet gifts, unheard songs, and stories waiting to be discovered. So next time you walk past someone playing music on the sidewalk, stop, take a breath, listen. You might just witness a miracle and change someone's life.